Stop with the authority test. We'll stop here. But let's go to the authority test. So Paul took the gospel to the Gentiles, but before he went to Jerusalem, he submitted his plans to the apostles for their blessing. He wanted the blessing of the apostles. And basically, he didn't have an attitude that said, nobody's going to tell me what I can do attitude. Sometimes our attitudes are the worst thing we're dealing with. Okay? Basically, God placed him in a place where he needed to submit to the authority of the other apostles and disciples. God placed David under a flawed leader named Saul. Joey, you may end up working for somebody who's flawed. Most likely you will. You want to know why? Because everybody is flawed. Barry can tell you he's worked for generals that were flawed. Like unbelievably flawed. Like how in the world did this guy become a general? Right? Like my third grader could become a general. Flawed. And the reason why is because people get into positions of power not always based upon abilities. They get into places of power based upon relationships and other things, family histories, and there's a lot of different reasons people get into things. Well, Paul wanted to go to the Gentiles, but before he could do that, he said, I need to get the blessing of the apostles. David was placed under Saul, and he knew he was called to be the leader, but yet he said, I will not touch a hair on Saul's head, even though Saul tried to kill him 5 or 6 times. It's pretty bad when your boss wants to kill you. Have you ever wanted to kill anybody over at Chick-fil-A? Missy has. She has credibility with me right now. I believe it. I wonder though, do you have bosses that maybe wanted to kill somebody at Chick-fil-A? Right? I don't even want to ask Alex. I know the answer. Right? Let me tell you something. You can learn as much or more from your mistakes as you can from your achievements and success. You really can. David decided to submit to Saul. And even though he was qualified to sit on the throne, it was still Saul's throne. So let me just say this to you. We'll close with this. If you want to be a leader, learn to be a follower. If you want to be a leader, learn to be a follower. You've got to learn how to submit. Alex builds these big buildings, and he was sharing with me this morning. He builds these buildings that they're actually shelters. They can be shelters. They're preformed concrete. So you pour a big slab, and then you pour the walls on top of that slab, and then you raise those walls. You hook all this thing together. You put a metal joist roof on it, on some of them. Stuff like that. I don't want to butcher everything, but it's something like that. But he was sharing this morning how they, in order to do this right, they have to spray and do a treatment to the concrete underneath the wall that they're building on top of that concrete. So they pour the slab first, they get that all cured in already, and then they've got to find a place to put the walls together. So we're talking about big walls, right? They can be how tall, Alex? 60 feet and how long? 25. So 60 by 25, massive amounts, a lot of weight. And so what they do is they put forms on the concrete, and then they pour the concrete. It goes right on top of the other concrete, but that concrete has been treated 5 times? 4 times. So that when that concrete wall is cured, it can go up and not be attached to the subfloor. The slab. If it's attached to the slab, chunks of the slab are going to come up when they raise that up. So Alex shared with me that he had a guy that was supposed to be the big boss several years ago. This guy's like, the guy. And the truth was he had a guy that worked for him that knew all of these intricate details. And so this guy, big boss, got moved over to Orlando, big company, and he had to pour all these things. And he said, he had chunks the size of Texas coming up out of the slab. Guess what happened to that guy? He's working for Chick-fil-A right now. Okay. Yeah. He works for a military contract right now. That's what he does. Like all the rest of them. Right? Makes sense. So that guy lost his job, didn't he? Lost his job. Let me tell you why. Because he didn't know about authority. He didn't have a concept about how that works. Right? You're only as good as the people that work with you and underneath you. And you work as a team. In the church is no different. I'm still in the Assemblies of God. I have an ordination in the Assemblies of God. I was ordained in 1988. It's a long time ago. That's when I was ordained. I was licensed in 1983. That's when I got licensed. I've been around a long time, and I have not left the Assemblies. You know why I haven't left the Assemblies? Because there's a lot of people say, oh, just be a non-denominational. You don't have to do this. I don't like being non-denominational. First of all, God never told me to be non-denominational. But secondly, there is a covering that is over me. There's a covering. And if I do something really stupid, at this stage in my life, I might get away with it. But if I did something really stupid, if I did something immoral, if I did something wrong, there are people in my life and in the system of our church and our fellowship that have the authority to stop me and say, no, you cannot do that. We will stand against you. That is a covering. It's so important, and it's part of the authority test. So, hey everyone, thank you for watching at Rich Valley Church today. The sermon was entitled The Test That We Go Through, and there are a lot of tests in life. We're so glad you were part of our time this morning. And if you want to watch this in full context, just go to that link, and I guarantee you can hear all of it. Again, may God bless you, and I hope you have a great day. Tune back in and hit like.